thank you. I wore my shirt just to match this background and helps with the sunburn from the hike yesterday. My color story is really working. So yeah, like Zia said, I've been at DSG now for just a little over 7 months. It's quite a shift going from a brand like Nike, where it's really a brand and marketing-led company, to a company that's very merchant-led. And I get to stand up here and kind of take you through this work, but representing really an army of people. Like we all know, it takes a lot to do what we do, and kind of building off of, I think, incredible company, and an incredible body of work that's like ongoing. So a little bit of history on Dick's Sporting Goods. It's a company that's been around since 1948, I believe. Was founded by the current chairman, Ed Stack. His father, Dick, hence the name, founded the company. Basically, he had worked for a little sporting goods store, I think in upstate New York, and they wanted to get into fishing, and he presented his boss an idea of getting into fish and tackle, and it was a $300 kind of investment, and the boss said, "No, you're a dumb kid, I'm not gonna let you do that." He went home, told his grandmother the story. She pulled $300 out of a cookie jar, and he went out and started the business on his own. So there's a little history around a cookie jar at Dick's. So that became 2 stores. It was really, really hard for his dad to kind of expand just to 2 stores. It almost broke him financially. Ed and his siblings kind of took the company over, bought it from his dad, and Ed built the company from 2 stores to now we have 800 and something, 50 stores, like a massive, massive fleet of stores. So the amazing thing about, it's a merchant-led organization, and Ed, being kind of who he is, I think gave a brief to my boss and said, what would happen if we were going to open up a store across the street from one of our stores that would put us out of business? And that was the ask. I think he has this fear of waking up to a tired old fleet, and goes back to some of the conversations around earlier about how do you kind of maintain and stay fresh. And so that birthed, what became House of Sport. So currently, as a company, we have 3 banners. We have House of Sport, or 4 banners maybe, for House of Sport. The standard kind of Dick's Sporting Goods stores that, again, the majority of the fleet. We have Golf Galaxy, and then we have a kind of a clearance chain called Going, Gone. But House of Sport started out as, again, from that brief, 3 test stores. So there was one in upstate New York, Knoxville, Tennessee, and Minnetonka. And the idea that, we'd kind of try out this thing and see how it did. And luckily, the stores were incredibly successful, and, created this opportunity to, not only, in my mind, establish really this kind of new benchmark around sporting goods retail, but retail in general, and I think the way that the machine that we have going, the work that we're doing, it's really setting a kind of a mark in the industry, and definitely, kind of shedding some shockwaves and changing, I think, the profile of the company. The foundation of the stores is really around these 3 basic pillars. So experience, product, service, and community. And this is a big thing for Dick's Sporting Goods. Having been at Nike for 20 years and working with Dick's for a good chunk of my career there, experience, service, presentation were not priorities at Dick's Sporting Goods in the past. I always say that, it was a stack it high and watch it fly kind of retailer back in the day. And what these stores have proven to the company is if you make these investments, that you create, a place that people want to come to, by making these amazing experiences, by providing incredible products, connecting with community and what these stores do with the communities around them, through events and activations, and kind of creating a place for kids to come and play and different groups to come and play. It really creates, a connection. And on top of that, what has done for Dick's Sporting Goods is it gives access to a much higher level of product than the company ever got before. They used to come to Nike all the time, and they would say, "Can we get Dunks? Can we get Air Force Ones?" And Nike would say, "No, because you don't present it in the right way." And again, I think through the sheer willpower of my boss, Tony Roller, who a lot of people might know, from a product presentation standpoint, and again, through all of these other components, has really made it, a destination that is incredible for the consumer, but also for the brands to kind of showcase their product in an amazing way. So there are a lot of kind of these sort of guiding principles as we go out. There is an engine that is trying to open these stores as fast as we can go. So we're on pace right now to do 20 to 30 House of Sports stores in a year for the next couple of years. They're massive stores. They're 120,000 square feet. Our standard Dick's store is 50 to 80K, but these are 120, anywhere from 100 to 150,000 square feet. Again, we have a very large fleet, and so there's a lot of work going into what doors do we want to kind of keep and refresh, what doors do we want to relocate. Again, because we are now really a commodity that not just the consumer wants, but that landlords want. And so with the shifts that are happening out in the marketplace, retailers that are having a hard time reducing their fleets, going out of business, et cetera, it creates opportunities for us to become really anchors to a lot of malls. And so where we may be sometimes in standalone destinations, we become a kind of a really big new anchor. And so we're trying to figure out, again, how we kind of continue to solidify our positions. How do we kind of go after competitive markets? How do we kind of move to better nodes from in markets that we might already be in? So the work that we have ahead of us. So design as a kind of a capability at DSG when it came to kind of store design was not really something that the company did before. They relied heavily on agencies and architects of record to really drive how the look and feel of our stores, especially the box itself, was created. So Tony has built this amazing organization through the lens of visual merchandising and storytelling and sort of collaborations with brands. House of Sport was kind of, in my mind, designed sort of from the inside out to this point. And there's an amazing opportunity to sort of start to look at the sort of more holistic expression of the brand in the box, and again, how this is changing how we appear to the consumer and the journey that we create. So this quote, again, back to kind of the thing, it takes an army of people to do what we do. I always argue that store design and kind of retail itself is the most collaborative thing you could possibly do, because my team can draw something, but we need architects of record, we need construction, we need procurement, we need contractors, and then there's the product piece of it, and then there's the presentation of it. It's an amazing thing. So this was just this incredible quote I saw around kind of creativity as a sort of collective force from the CEO at Montclair, who's doing kind of incredible things these days as well. So the kind of experiences, the sort of makeup of these stores, is based around some kind of key elements that, our team sort of orchestrates to create really this journey where there's moments as you kind of go through the store, there's surprise and delight, there's sort of these wow moments. There's obviously kind of key products around footwear. There's a thing called a seasonal fashion show as you come in. It's really kind of a storytelling moment that, we'll, again, collaborate with brands around sort of key product stories and key product releases that happen as you come in the stores. The climbing walls, there are, very active story, moments that happen around these climbing walls, birthday parties. The amazing thing about these stores as well is every one of them has a marketing director that lives within these stores that is responsible for, creating those events and activations, scheduling birthday parties. They have 20 to 30 birthday parties a month a lot of times in these stores. I think the average age of the climber, the people that are climbing on the walls are like 8 to 12 years old. So it's just tons of kids. Field, there's a large field that is attached to these stores as well. Wherever we can, sometimes the real estate doesn't allow a field, so it's not every House of Sport gets one, but when we can, we'll put the field in the right climate. Those fields become hockey rinks as well in the wintertime. And again, they schedule all kinds of, they have brand activations and events that will happen out there. Nike will drop a new shoe, they'll do an activation on the field. There's times where they, allow teams to come out and use them, community comes out and use them for kind of free play time as well. House of Cleats, there's a destination around kind of, football, soccer, baseball cleats is a kind of a big key node. There's a multi-sport hitting cage in these stores, and so it's got a pitching machine in it, but it also supports soccer, lacrosse, hockey, different things can be done in there. Similar to kind of golf, where they can analyze bat speed, and so helping a kid buy a baseball bat that can cost $300, it's really important to get the right baseball bat for their skill and their age, and so all of that can get analyzed again, help on that kind of buying process. And kids also come in and just, get time to go and swing a bat and, get some time in the cage as well. We have TrackMan hitting bays for golf, full golf fittings. Every one of these stores has a PGA Golf Pro in them. So they're just amazing things that, again, create experiences, create these moments, and create these connectivity through communities in the stores. And then kind of incredible brand collaborations and activations. So we have collab spaces in the doors that get changed out, kind of on a pretty regular basis. All the different sports, and it's a constant sort of evaluation around the makeup of these stores. I think there's a legacy, there's a desire to stay connected to kind of what the brand is, but also I think there's a lot of work that happens around continuing to evolve, like what that means and what that looks like. Again, the ability to kind of bring in new brands, and then how we define sport today is very different. I mean, this is the same conversations we were having at Nike, that sport, especially coming out of COVID, what sport means and what sport lifestyle means is very different than, I think, the old hard, definition around sport and sporting goods of the past. And I think, again, these stores allow Dick's to kind of expand on that, expand those product offerings. I'm going to show you a couple of quick videos. This first one is just a sort of we have 21 House of Sports today. This isn't the newest one. The newest one actually is in Dayton, Ohio, which opened a few weeks ago. This is Miami Dadeland Mall that opened, I think about a month ago or so now. Really cool thing about these stores as well is, you get events opening events, and obviously you get huge surges in kind of the connectivity of the community and how much they show up and how much they kind of get engaged with things like climbing walls. I think I heard a stat the other day, Knoxville, which again was like one of the first 3 stores we opened. I think current kind of usage of the climbing wall, I think they're still like number 1 or 2 in the fleet. So there's an ongoing commitment, and this is the thing that, again, coming from Nike, we spoke a lot back at Nike about, kind of creating, activated, connected retail. We had a hard time putting the mechanisms behind it to actually bring that to life, and what Dick's has really done, the commitment that exists in the organization, the resources they put against these stores is incredible. That, again, they really have sort of said that they were going to do something, and it continues to do it. This is a glimpse into kind of something that's new at the store, that one of sort of adjacent teams that's part of the organization that we sit in is working on, which is a Dick's Media Network. And so this is the beginnings of really kind of digital activations that happen throughout the store. This is that seasonal fashion show as you come in, has kind of digital platforms, digital monitors. So there are sort of key moments throughout the journey of the store that allow Dick's to work with brands, again, to bring stories to life in a kind of more engaged and compelling way. There's lots around kind of RFID and product communication and connectivity, and so there's an amazing way for not only to sort of pump content in the stores, but actually monitor usage. So there's ways of tracking kind of engagement at the same time. And then I'm going to give you a glimpse of like what we have kind of on the boards right now. So again, part of my role, new role at DSG, there's, again, like I was saying earlier, the stores were really designed around kind of those experiences and the moments inside. They then kind of got housed in a box that my boss's sort of phrase is, it's like it looks like your dad's Dick's Sporting Goods still on the outside. So the consumer was pulling up to our stores. It didn't necessarily look that different. The field was certainly a big marker of something that was very different from what the stores were before, but the box itself still looked like what a typical Dick's Sporting Goods looked like. And so what we're in the process of doing right now is how do we start to re-envision what the box looks like and how we can really signal that there's a lot of newness here. So this is some work we're doing for a store in Tigard, Oregon, but that's basically, it's Portland. It's kind of Washington Square Mall out there. Obviously, it's the home to Nike, the home to Adidas America. Every shoe company in the world has got some kind of headquarters based in Oregon. So this one is really about kind of making a statement, partly to those brands, but it's also we're using this as a mechanism to kind of recreate what our prototype looks like. The challenge or the interesting thing that we have right now around that prototype is we would love to get a lot of prototype ground up buildings, the majority, but the mix is not as high as we would think because, again, there's incredible opportunities that we have in front of us of taking over boxes that are becoming available to us. So really highlighting, again, that kind of climbing wall moment as the sort of beacon at the corner of these boxes. And then, again, how we start to really recreate the architecture of the stores, integrating the field within that. There's kind of viewing platforms, kind of overlooks for the field, and then, again, the field itself. And then again, how we show up kind of within the mall itself. It's just taking sort of the legacy and heritage, the language, the vocabulary that existed before, but trying to kind of update and bring that, kind of to a more modern look and feel. This one is a beast. This is in Boston, just outside of Boston, at North Street, Braintree, but it's got two names to it. I can't remember the other. South Shore Mall. So we're doing a couple stores in that Boston area. So this is the first one I've been working on, 150,000 square foot, 3-floor box. But again, trying to define a kind of a new language for the architecture of our stores. And then this is a really fun one. This is down in Mission Valley Mall in San Diego. This is an beautiful old kind of mid-century May Company building that has an old tea house that kind of hangs off the side of it. And so this one, we're in the works, doing that. And again, same thing, looking at how we create a new sort of architectural language for the stores and, how we enclose the field and how that relates back to the architecture of the building itself. And there's an old kind of vent stack clock tower thing here that we're taking advantage of as well as a way to kind of brand the field. And then there's some other things that we're going to do with that old tea room as well that creates a nice opportunity for us.